All right, on today's video is we're going to be working on the grapple today. This is for the Volvo Payloader. It's kind of a redneck design, you know. It's made for hay, and it's been reinforced a few times. Well, she gets used hard, so I don't know how far I'm going to go with this. I definitely need to fix the mount part because it's broken pretty bad, and I would like to at least get it serviceable that way. If I have time, I might try to rebuild the lower portion down here, but we'll see. But here's the issue. So this is bolted on, so you can take it off and just use the bucket. Well, as you can see here, we're not having a good day. She's broke pretty good right there, and it's not designed for this mount anyway. It's too long right here. You know, I got a bolt with a washer, a bolt without a washer. This is quarter, and it probably ought to be half inch. So, and it's kind of crooked, like it bent it, so like this is crooked. It don't sit on there right, so it's kind of a bear to get it lined up for the bolts. So it'd be nice to kind of fix that. But anyways, this side, you can't really see it, but it is cracked on over here too, and here. And it's very much fixing all that. So my plan is, we'll take the bolts out, we'll get it off the bucket, of course, and then I think what I want to do is I want to leave the tubing and this angle, of course, and everything up, and then everything down here, this gusset, this whole piece here, this piece, we'll cut all this off and just have the flat plate that's on the bottom of this tube, where it ends right there. And we'll just use a torch, chop it all off. You know, we'll leave all that good strong weld there, clean it up real good, grind it back. And then I think what I'll do is I'll take two pieces of 1/2 inch plate, one that's from here to here, the width, and one that's from here to here, the whole width. We'll just kind of mock it up on the bucket. We'll drill our holes, tack weld it all together. And then that way we know it'll bolt down to the mount for the bucket, and then hopefully we can just set it on top of, or on the bottom I should say, of the grapple. Weld it all solid like it is here, you know, all the way around, good and strong. And then depending how it goes, I don't know, I'll definitely probably do some type of gusset like this again, whether we reuse this one or use a different one or whatever. I'm not for sure. So I want to get it all apart and get it figured out, cleaned up first, so I can see what I got. And I think I'll do the same thing on both sides. That side obviously is really broken. This side is cracked. I could weld it up, but why if it's going to break? So enough yakking. I'm going to zip these bolts out, and then thankfully I got it set up where the old green loader can come in here and just scoop it up. It just put your forks in between the dines here, pick it right up off the deal. I think I'm going to set it in the air over there and then just take a torch to it and start hacking. So let's get this off. All right, I got her in here, sitting on these sawhorses. Plan is, like I said, I'm just going to take the torch and hack and slash, get it down to, you know, zero or ground zero so we can start over. One of the things I also was thinking about when I took them bolts out is I'd like to correct is, you know, I didn't drill any of these holes. That was all for an existing mount. I'd like to get that to where they can all be taken in and out with an impact. Only about 2 of them out of 4 can be taken out with an impact. So it's never been an issue, but you know, if you can save a little time, make it easier, why not while I'm rebuilding it? So yeah, that's that half. On this side over here, I've got these plates, which these are pretty good. Might grind that down a little bit just to make that smoother. I don't know if you can see that very well or not, but sticks up a little bit. These are 2 3/8 plates that I put together and welded in a hurry just to get something done, and they've served their purpose. They've worked. So yeah, so I'm gonna get to hacking on that, and I'll bring you back once I've got everything cut off that we need to cut off. All right, all the demolition portion is done. This side wasn't too bad at all. Took it all off for the most part in one piece. That side over there came out in a bunch of pieces, but the end result here is pretty much just the square tubing. I left the side plate on because it's in good shape and it ain't gonna hurt anything. Little extra reinforcement. I cut the bottom completely out, so there's you know, a hole there, so I can butt up the new piece of plate up to that and be about as strong as it's gonna get. So clean it up a little bit with the grinder. Same on this side. It's I took the bottom piece off. Originally I left them, but when I got to it, I realized that they're, you know, it's supposed to be quarter and there ain't a whole lot left. And it wasn't, you could see the line, the separation line on here, and that tends to mean it's not being held on anymore. So I did that, and then I cut the little tines off the end of the grapple there. They're all curled and bent over, and it's just dead weight now. I'd love to rebuild the whole lower portion, but not on this video, I think. It'd be for another day. So next part of the video, I'm going to buy the steel for this. We're going to test fit it on the bucket, and I think what I'm going to do is excuse me, set it on the bucket, tack weld it together, and then bring it up here and tack weld it onto this, and then weld it solid. Because I think if I go based on that, square with that, that way it'll line up nicely, it'll look good. And then this can it can be tweaked a little bit, because this grapple's bent. Like, it's not straight and square anymore. It is not made for demolition and buildings and things. It's made for hay originally. So that way the grapple might be twisted, but the brackets are straight, and so it'll sit straight on the bucket, and that's kind of what I want. Because then at a later date, if I can ever rebuild the lower portion down there, we can take that whole chunk down there out and start over and make it square and line up with the bucket. And then the only thing that will be tweaked is you know, just the regular square tubing. So anyways, thanks to YouTube magic, I'll just, you know, snap my finger and I'll get some steel. We'll get it set up over there, get a template made, and then we'll tack weld it on, and I'll show you what it looks like. All right, quick little update on the grapple build. So I'm ready to start fabbing up the new mounts, and excuse me, the plan is I've got the new steel here, which I'm going from 1/4 inch to upgrading to 1/2 inch plate, which is what this is. It's quite a bit thicker, should hopefully last a lot longer. And so what I did was I cleaned up the mounts on the bucket, and the holes are already drilled into the bucket. And so what I'm gonna do is I've got them sitting here with vice grips. I'm gonna mark the holes from the bottom side, get them drilled out, and then I'll bring it back over here. And then the plan is I got a nice gap here. I'm gonna tack weld it in place where it needs to be. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bolt the two together, bolt them down, and then I'm going to weld that solid right here. And then bolting it down will allow for the steel to be welded on one side like it is, without deforming it and changing the position. Because you know, when heat cools, it'll pull this plate up. So I'm gonna bolt it down, weld it solid, and then I can take that piece ready to go over to the grapple in there. And then once it's on the grapple, we can weld it solid, and then hopefully it should just bolt right back down. So let me get all this done, and we'll get it mocked up on the grapple and see what it looks like. Alright, quick little update. I'm all prepped on this side. Put my plates on there, bolted them down, welded them, hit them with the grinder a little bit on both sides here. The reason I'm doing it this way is because I'm afraid if I take them over there and weld them onto the grapple, then the bolt holes won't line up anymore. So my plan is I'm gonna take the loader, pick the grapple up, I'm gonna set it down on top of this, try to get it as centered and square as I can, to where I'm clear on the bolt holes and everything is, you know, jiving properly, weld it in place really good, being I've got the welder out over here anyway. And then that way when I'm done welding it, the bolts will hold everything from twisting and turning and going out of square, and it'll just bolt right on. It'll cool off on this bucket. So I'll fire up the loader, let's pick that up, trying to get it sitting on here somehow, and we'll see what it looks like. Okay, that was a bit of a fight to get that on there, but it's on there. So I started putting it on the backside here, and then I got it somewhat close, and then I realized, oh crap, I need it to be here, otherwise it won't close all the way. I don't know how I zoned that out, but I did. So I had to start over, rearrange it. It's supposed to be here. It's supposed to be here. And then I'll put some gussets, you know, down the back here to make it so that that won't bend. It's probably strong enough on its own, but you know, why risk it? So anyways, she's on there. She's tack welded pretty much just on the sides here, and they're not perfectly straight. That side over there mostly touches. This side over here has got a bit of a gap. You know, it's not straight and square. It is what it is. We're just gonna build it up and build it up and build it up and weld the heck out of her. This is just a temporary fix to get going again. I would love to finish rebuilding this. The end goal is, once that was done, to strengthen that, the lower portion I want to cut all that off and make it so that when this grapple is all the way down, it's touching the cutting edge, you know, just touches it barely with like a flat bar or something kind of like this. Maybe, I'm not for sure. Maybe something with some teeth, who knows. That's for another day, because that ain't broken, so we're not gonna fix it right now. The other goal would be to put extensions on it. I don't know if you can tell, but there's a good foot and a half extra width on the bucket. And I just put some extensions on here to get it over edged with that bucket, and then have something similar to this, except that I would have no cylinder here, you know, but that bar would be over here, and all that would do is it'd be a little lower than this one, so that it would kind of clamp down on the side of the bucket there. It would be the idea. So anyways, my next goal is to weld. So I'm gonna weld this all up, put a couple gussets on the sides, and then this project should be done for now and until the next phase. So let me get all that done, and I'll bring you back to show you the finished product. All right, I think I got this grapple figured out for now. It's a lot of welding, but pretty straightforward. Basically got my 1/2-inch plate cut and drilled and stacked and put on there, and put a lot of weld on that. I'm not a welder by any means, but the more is definitely good in my case to help compensate for that. So the square tubing is welded all the way around, and then I had these pieces of I don't know what that is, 3-inch wide by whatever, like 16-18 inches long, 1/2-inch flat stock. I had it left over from something else. Makes a really nice gusset, so that you know, there's some extra strength there, because the whole tension on these is this way. You know, when you're crunching stuff, it wants to spread apart down in here, and that's why the other one broke. So the other side turned out half decent as well, and like I said, welded all the way around. And then I threw the gusset on this side too. But the big thing I did with this is when I put this on here, I tack welded it, you know, and then I brought it in here to weld like fully. I bolted it down. Like I put all four bolts on each side, and I bolted it, and I welded it and welded it and welded it and welded it, and you know, that makes things move. So basically, when I welded it, you know, I don't want anything to get out of whack and then it won't bolt up. So what I did is I bolted them down really tight with the impact, welded everything up, and let it sit overnight and cool off. Hopefully that means when I go to unbolt it, it'll have cooled in the place that it wants to be with the bolts on it. Hopefully. That's the theory anyway. So anyways, that'll be it for this video. She's fixed. She's ready to go back out in the field and do some work. So that's a wrap on this one. Thanks for watching.